What is the name of your army? Where did they get a giant dinosaur from? Why do they keep killing Tau so much? Is anything you're about to tell us even canon in the lore? All of these questions and more will be answered in today's video, because today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the complete 100% made up lore behind my specific Kroot army called the Jungle Wraiths. Let's jump into it. So, to start off, my idea for this Kindred was based around a short story that I read, and it basically involved the Tau doing something very un-Tau-like, where they had taken some Kroot away from their Kindred, and their Kindred was unaware of this. Maybe they thought they were lost in battle or whatever, and basically have been doing just the most horrific experiments on them, and essentially had turned them into Kroot servitors, like what you'd see in the Imperium, where they looked like Kroot, but they had wires and shit all up in their brain, and they were being mind controlled by the Tau. And so I just wanted, in that story, the other Kroot don't find out about it. It's actually some Imperials that kill the Kroot and see the wires and things coming out of their brain and realize what's going on. But so you can imagine what would happen if a Kindred found out the Tau were doing this, that their supposed allies were doing this to their warriors and to their people. So my idea is this. The Jungle Wraiths were originally actually extremely loyal to the Tau. They were one of the first groups to sign up with them when the two races decided to form an alliance. They worked extensively with them, and further loyalty and further support, they were actually rewarded with more weapons and more technology from the Tau than almost any other Kindred. And that's why the Jungle Wraiths can be seen with so much advanced Tau tech, as opposed to some others that mostly rely on the standard Kroot weapons. Now, the Jungle Wraiths also ended up being one of the biggest Kindreds because in all of this campaigning for the Tau and all this exploration they did, they ended up actually absorbing some smaller Kindreds into them, as well as discovering some long-lost Kroot subspecies that hadn't been seen in a long time, such as the Goliath Kroot. So what this means is you now have this Kindred full of this extreme diversity of Kroot. You've got the smaller Kroot that ride on the flying creatures. You've got larger, bulky, monstrous Kroot like the Goliath Kroot that I've done a video on, and we'll get to it in a minute. You've got the colossal Narlock, which is the giant T-Rex with a lot of guns on him. So you've got the advanced weaponry from the Tau with the savagery from the Kroot, and not just any Kroot, an extremely diverse Kroot army that has all of the benefits of their race with all the weapons of the Tau, and basically you end up having probably the most effective fighting force that the Tau can muster. Now, it wasn't all peachy. I imagine that being thrown into all these war zones and being as effective as they are, the Jungle Race might start to harbor a little bit of resentment to the Tau, that maybe they're being a little bit misused and maybe, they're being, put in some of the worst places, but they were loyal, they were honorable, and they were happy to work with their Tau comrades for the time. Now, the leader of my Kindred is Kroot Swiftwing. He is amongst the smaller subspecies of Kroot, but that doesn't make him any less of a fearsome warrior. He rides into battle on his razor wing Narlock, which is the flying Kroot that I made out of a Ripperdactyl. He ends up discovering these Kroot servitors. Maybe it's one of his own warriors gets shot in battle, and he sees all the wires and things coming out of his head, and he's not happy about it. He wants revenge. This betrayal can only be settled one way, and that way is with blood and the complete death of every Tau scientist or leader that had a hand in this. And he has a good idea who they are, because he happens to be working a campaign with a group of Tau scientists, with a group of Tau researchers that are, involved in this sort of thing. So he knows who his target is. He knows who's responsible for doing this to his people. But he also knows that with the force he has right now, even with their advanced weaponry, it's going to be a really hard battle. They're going to have a hard time against the Tau fortifications and battle suits and things like that. So he disappears from his Kindred for many months. He takes with him his best and brightest warriors, and he's not seen or heard from in all that time. Now, what he's doing is he's searching for an old jungle wraiths legend. Somewhere on a distant planet, there is a rumor that an ancient and gargantuan subspecies of Narlock still survives in the mountains. This is the colossal Narlock. No other kindred has tried to tame one in many years, and they exist only in legend. He takes off with his group of warriors, and he returns without any of them, but he has a colossal Narlock with him. This is a monstrous creature, extremely heavily armored, extremely ferocious, and it's just the tool he needs to enact his revenge. So, they're on a distant jungle world. The Tau research facility, which is extremely heavily armed and armored, as it is a forward operating base of sorts. He knows all the Tau scientists are there. They're there to research the exotic flora and fauna. And his army of jungle wraiths have been recruited to essentially guard the base, put down any monstrous creatures that are trying to attack it, and be the scouts of the operation. Now, to begin, he knows that he cannot allow any to flee to spread word to the fleet in orbit about what is about to transpire. He also knows he cannot allow them to send any messages. Now, fortunately, all that handy Tau tech they've acquired is going to help them with this. So first off, he has the colossal Narlock in the middle of the night stomp onto the runway and destroy every single surface-to-air craft that the Tau have at their disposal. Some Tau fire warriors catch sight of a monstrous creature stomping off into the night amongst the wreckage of their craft. At the same time, Kroot carnivores set up jamming devices around the base high up in the canopy of the trees that block any signals from leaving the base so that they can warn their fleet about what's going on. Now, the Kroot pretend to continue to play the part of the helpful savage. They lead expeditions into the jungle to look for this mysterious creature or these attackers that are preventing them from leaving. On all of these expeditions, the parties sent with the Kroot are found massacred or just disappear entirely. Now, the Tau commander is no fool. He begins to realize what is going on and that the Kroot have turned against him. He recalls all his forces to behind the walls, but the damage is done and the trap has been sprung. They are trapped on this world with the Kroot in the jungle around them. Day and night they are tormented by the Kroot. The bodies, the mutilated remains of their Tau are strung up from the trees around the base. They're forced to listen to them being devoured in the trees. And as the days press on into weeks, the forces within the walls begin to starve. The Kroot had been the ones responsible for gathering and finding them food out in the jungle, and in a last effort of spite against them, they had poisoned that supply of food. So the Tau are trapped, they're starving, what little food they had was poisoned, and now the remains of their comrades that had went out on expeditions are being strung up all around them. Things are not going well. Now, several weeks in, the Tau have been sufficiently weakened. It is time to crush them entirely. The Tau put up a good show of strength. They man the walls. They ready their guns. As in the distance, they can just hear a thunderous approach. A howling, a screaming, a roaring sound as thousands upon thousands of Kroot vent their fury against them, against the ones who betrayed their loyalty. And from the jungle comes just the most terrifying sight as bloodthirsty monsters of all shape and size crawl, fly, run, sprint, and stomp towards the walls. And in just a few short hours, the defenders are cut down. And as a last show of defiance, Krayish does not consume the bodies of those scientists. He kills them himself and throws them in the fire to be burned. Now, this is the ultimate act of disrespect that a Kroot can bestow on an enemy, to consider him not even worthy of eating. So, that's where we leave off with our heroic jungle wraiths. They have gotten their revenge, but they are now renegade. So, they are still mercenaries, they still take jobs for other races, they will not work for the Tau, and they are in fact actively being hunted by the Tau. They of course have other things to contend with. And the Kroot, satisfied with their revenge, aren't going out of their way to go into all-out war with the Tau Empire, but they are certainly not on good terms. So, if you've listened to all that, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully that was entertaining to listen to. I've had a lot of fun making these guys. And I'll just quickly say, again, if you'd like to support the channel at all, I do have a Patreon set up. For just $1 a month, you can see all my work in progress things that are coming down the pipe. And I also post little painting tutorials and things like that. There'll also be, you can, give me video suggestions and things like that. So thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.